All right, we got ourselves community update number 5, week 2 from Fat Shark for Warhammer 40k Darktide. We're going to be pushing through this here today. Just as a quick summary, so you don't need to sit through the whole video if you don't want to. They're going to be adding 2 new weapons to the ogryn, the Power Maul, and a Crusher. They're talking about the penances and possibly restructuring them and how they're going to be doing them. It's mainly down to the way that they present the information on how you achieve them. They're not going to be changing things drastically, it seems like. They're giving us some more Aquila. They're going to give us another 2400, which is nice if you have the Imperial Edition. Not so nice if you don't, but I think it doesn't overall answer the predatory nature of the store, which we'll talk about in just a little second. Some other things here too. They're talking about trying to make improvements to performance and stability, but the big thing that is also addressed in this weekly update as part of a patch coming next week is an addition of both solo and bot play. So you'll see those things coming to us next week, and the bot play is going to be coming, but the solo play is not. They were saying like, hey, if you want to do a private, I'm sorry, not solo and bot, private and solo. So if you want to do a solo mission, you won't be able to until they finish. They kind of revisit it and make it a little bit tighter. But as far as playing privately with bots and friends, you will be able to do that next week. So let's jump here onto the community update number 5, week 2. For Warhammer 40k Darktide. And we just kind of push on through into this. So I've highlighted stuff in green that I like. Anything in cyan is things that are like, I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. And things that are in red, I either don't like or they're nerfs. It's kind of the way I've done a lot of these videos for a lot of different games. If you've watched them on my channel for the years and years I've done it. So our hope is that many of you can see progress towards this commitment for the past few weeks, having released 8 hotfixes and updates since the pre-order beta launch, 4 of which were released since full launch last week. This isn't the way we have addressed everything. In fact, we are not fully satisfied and still have work to do. So I like that they're saying like, hey, you know what? We got a lot of work to do. There's definitely a lot of stuff that's wrong. We've had a lot of issues and they're addressing it. And that's a big thing is a lot of people have said like, yeah, there's so many problems with the game, but at least Fat Shark is addressing it from a community standpoint. There are a lot of things too that they're addressing kind of piecemeal too. So that's kind of nice when it comes to like say the shop store, the paid store and stuff like that. So we will see how that all kind of progresses as things unfold here. We'd like to see a little bit more behind that. So for more weapons that are coming, we're going to be seeing one of the key things you pointed out to us was a desire for more weapons. We had planned to offer more weapons at launch and are taking the first few steps in this direction by adding the following. The Indignatus Mark 4E Crusher, and then the Achilles Mark 1 Power Maul. Now, I'm assuming that both, if not one of these, is at least eligible for the ogryn. Otherwise, I think it's probably going to be eligible for like the other classes as well. I'm hoping that these are 2 ogryn weapons because the ogryn needs more weapons more than anything. It has very, very limited weapon choices, and those weapon choices kind of just come down to the slab shield and the grenade gauntlet. The Commodore's Vestments, the in-game store. So, we heard your feedback on the store loud and clear, and we are making adjustments to how, let me go in a little bit further here, to how Aquilas are packaged. We are working on adding an additional 2400 Aquila pack to the store, which will arrive next week. Okay, so maybe I actually read that wrong. I thought that this was maybe, they're giving, I think that they're giving this, oh, no. An additional 2400 Aquilas pack to the store. So you can now buy exactly the Aquila you need. So I apologize. I messed that up in the beginning. I read that wrong. I thought this was like a, hey, sorry, here's 2400 Aquila, which would have been nice. Would have been nice. The next thing, we will also add a 100 Aquila pack within the next few weeks, allowing players to buy smaller fractions of Aquila. Okay. And then in addition, we are also going to change other functionalities of the store over time. So I think what really grabs my gooch on this whole entire situation is that we had planned for more weapons at launch. We had planned for bots and solo play at launch. We had planned for private stuff at launch. We had planned for more crafting stuff at launch, but instead we got a fully operational in-game store at launch with 0 to no bugs, no problems, no issues with transactions, nothing of the sort. So my issue here is not that the in-game store exists. This is the year 2022 coming into 2023. games now have monetization linked behind microtransactions. It's the reality of the beast. I think we all need to understand that. I do. I fucking hate it. But I think that if Fat Shark had said, hey, you can now earn Aquila by doing your weeklies. If you complete your weeklies, you get 50 or 100 Aquila. Cool. That's awesome. I get the base pack of Aquila as a reward for completing the very heavy time investment of the weeklies. That's kind of something I want to talk about when we talk about the progression siloing and shared order dockets. I'll get to that in a second. So if you're going to make me do weeklies for a currency we don't really know if this is a true endgame progression, at least give Aquilas for it. I would be okay with that. I'd be totally down with it. So I think that the Aquila store is the nature of the beast, but I think the Aquila store needs to be geared towards the gamer and not geared towards the bottom line. And that's, I think any gamer wants that for any microtransactions. Give me the chance to earn the currency in the game through a grind, and I'll do the grind. Don't force me to throw money at this for a cosmetic that is on a timer that I don't know if it's ever going to appear again. That is, again, a part of the predatory nature of the in-game store I'm not really stoked on. So that's both my stance on the store and my stance on this kind of update about the store. It doesn't really kind of answer anything. It kind of puts a couple band-aids on some severed limbs, but it's there nonetheless. The crafting system will be getting the refine item functionality. This will allow you to replace one perk on a curio or a weapon. The same perk slot, listen to this part. The same perk slot can be replaced multiple times, but will block replacing other perks on the same item. This is the next step in our building out our crafting system. Now, the other two crafting situations or functionalities are supposedly coming by the end of this month in total. So by January, we should have all full functionality to crafting. So stoked to see this, stoked to play with this, because a lot of people kind of are wondering how this affects what your creation of weapons is going to be. How do you build the best weapon and stuff like that? So I think that once we get more and more of the crafting system unlocked, we'll be able to finally kind of push into that. Private play and solo. Starting next week, with 2 or more players in the strike team, players will be able to opt into playing privately via the mission board. Love to see that. Stoked on it. Also, too, they have a situation where if the squad is all disconnected and a player is left alone, when the reservation time expires, the mission will become public. So if your friend like, hey, hard disconnects, computer shuts down, hey, dude, I'm just going to go to work, the reservation time goes up, and at least that goes public so your friend can finish the mission if he needs to. As for solo mode, we are actively working on it. So that's unfortunate, right? They said it's done, but it's just not up to par of what they want. Right now, it is not, and we could do the game a disservice by implementing it. So I'm at least fine with them saying, hey, we've got it, but we need to make sure that it's to a deliverable point, an actual good point in the game, so it's not introducing more bugs into an already buggy system. Fine with that. At least they're getting an update onto it. So solo mode is coming for those that want to play strictly with bots. Into emotes. So they will be adding, they said like, hey, you know, we have a long-term fix for this, but near-term, we will be introducing the ability for your characters to use an emote in the hub. Players will be able to customize the emote wheel in the cosmetics menu of their character. And a For the Emperor button. While we don't have a For the Emperor emote yet, we're most certainly asking the team about it, you know, for the Emperor. And it will be locked behind an 800 Aquila price point. No, I don't know. I'm fucking around. But progression siloing and shared ordo dockets. Since launch, we've seen feedback from many players requesting shared progression across characters to ensure a smoother progression loop. Our designers are taking this feedback seriously and are discussing how to best implement a solution that meets our players' desires and gameplay goals, while also striking a balance with the game's design intent. So while cool, that doesn't really do anything here. This is a sizable endeavor, and its feasibility is still unknown. We hope to be able to share more information on this and its progress at a later time. So they've at least addressed it, so that is huge. I would have at least preferred, though, that they said like, hey, here are some of the things that we are thinking of. What do you guys think? Because I'm sure they're getting bombarded with a million suggestions on how to change their systems. And what I'd love to hear is which suggestions are on the table that you guys are considering, and can we give you feedback on it? Because if you've got like a million suggestions, you've narrowed it down to 5, and 5 of them are like the least popular ones or the ones people maybe don't really like or whatever it is, let us have input into that. Because if you're trying to strike a balance, let us help you with that balance, because we don't know the dialogue you're having. And if you say, hey, here's the 5 we're looking at because of the feasibility of the system, or feasibility of the engine, or these are the things that we can actually accomplish within a short amount of time, or here's one we can accomplish, but it's going to have to be tacked onto DLC because that's how our budgets work, or whatever it is. I think transparency from the gaming companies across all avenues, or all genres, needs to be increased. And if you did that kind of transparency with us and said, like, hey, here's what's limited by our budget, what we can accomplish short term doesn't hit all the things you want, here's what we can do long term with DLC budget, just know that it's going to cost you, the consumer, I would be okay with that. I think my dog is just going to town on his toy right now. Into penances, we've been working closely with our community support team on how you feel about penances in the game and some of the pain points surrounding them. There's been a lot of feedback to pour through, but we've found that there's a disconnect between how we phrase the requirements of some penances and the criteria to achieve them, making them more frustrating for players than we intended. Based on the feedback received from the support team, we're currently working through solutions to make penances smoother and more enjoyable for players. So hopefully this is just simply, I overall don't mind the penances. I think some are a little absurdly difficult by comparison to others for the exact same kind of quote unquote lateral difficulty piece. Like if we're talking about the helmet for the Psyker versus the helmet for the Zealot, right? Like there's just two different difficulty of penances to accomplish for those. So I think if they were more geared towards the way they were in Vermintide, do 50 missions on Damnation, or 15 things on that, or this, or kill all the bosses, whatever it was, I think it's a little bit more of a straightforward system. Or if they just simply rephrase to have very clear-cut criteria for what they need, or when they say stuff like complete 7 of every mission, give me like a checkbox of every mission so that I can at least see which ones I've actually put dents into and everything like that. But that concludes here our week 2 Community 5 update here, guys. Hopefully it gave you some good insight onto what's coming next week with a patch for Darktide. They did say that there's a patch coming and that there are plenty more things being changed in the full list of patch notes on the horizon. As always, thank you so much for watching here today. If you have any questions, concerns, talk about the things that are bothering you about Darktide right now. I mean, if it's performance related, obviously they didn't really address that here big, but they will be obviously improving that with each hotfix and each major patch. So hopefully we'll get closer and closer to a no crash, no buggy system. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.